Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Window Pro podcast. And today I want to talk to you about tool choices. Oh, that can be such a drama, can't it? People trying to convince you to buy this or to use that. And when you're starting out, it can be quite a challenge. So in this episode of the Window Pro podcast, we're going to drill down into that subject. So stay tuned. So before we get into all of that about choosing your tools, I want to give you my backstory with regard to types of tools and brands that I've used over the 30 years I've been cleaning windows. So when I first started, the guy that I bought my first business from, he trained me, I guess you could say, and the tools I bought on his recommendation were the brass Ettore channels. I think I got a 6-inch, a 10-inch, an 18-inch, but I also got what was called a hound dog channel, which may be, and I stand corrected, the Contour Pro Plus channel from Ettore. And it was a 36-inch because another colleague said you need a 36-inch for the big panels. I'd never used a squeegee, so how I was going to use a 36-inch, I have no idea. But as time went on, my tool brands evolved, and it helped me to see something very clearly that I want to share with you in this podcast when you're going out to make choices on tools. So a few years after, maybe just a couple of years after I started in business, I was cleaning a cafe in North Bondi, on North Bondi Beach in Sydney. And I was using my Ettore squeegees, and it required some pole work. One of the customers came out and said, "Hey mate, I'm a window cleaner. Let me show you a better way." So he introduced me to the Wagtail Orbital. And I've had the Wagtail Orbital, not the same one, but I've had a Wagtail Orbital in my bucket, in my toolbox ever since. It was my first introduction to pivoting tools. So the next few years, had the brass, and I found those those clamps that you've got to put on the end of the squeegee rubber difficult, frustrating. But then I discovered Sorbo, and for a number of years, that was my preferred window cleaning squeegee. I hadn't got into waterfed. This was just my traditional evolution. And then about 2011, 2012, I discovered the Unger Ninja range. Well, sorry, anyone who's a Sorbo fanatic. My Sorbo disappeared. My Unger Ninja became the go-to. So I was still using my Wagtail when I needed a pivoting tool. And I've tried both the Wagtail Orbital and the Slimline. But for many years, I was very happy with the Unger Ninja. Easy to do a quick change of squeegee rubber when you need to replace it. Excellent for straight pulls when required. And just a really smooth, easy to use, easy in the hand squeegee. But guess what? Sometime after that, I discovered the Moerman tools, and they became the pivoting tool that I use both for pole work as well as just nose to glass cleaning. And recently, actually just this year, 2026, I've found myself back with the Ettore, but this time the stainless steel. So I have a 6, I have a 10-inch, I have a 14-inch, and I have an 18-inch steel Ettore channel. Sure, they've got those same clips, those brass clips, but I've found along with the Ledger EZE handle, I'm really enjoying it. So that just illustrates that there is no one brand. And what I learnt from that experience is that to go and say, I'm a brand guy, you can, but the reality is, what is the best tool for the job? That's what we want to talk about today. Not just thinking about what brand I use, but how to think like a serious window cleaning technician. So when you're evaluating a job and you to provide a quote, when you start doing that job because you won the quote, what tools are you going to use? Every job will be different. Some will have small French colonials or cutaways, as some countries call them. You need a small squeegee. Now, for some, a small fixed, a straight panel like an Ettore can be very useful. Others want to feed those. Others want a little pivoting squeegee. So you're going to try all of those because you're going to develop your style for these jobs, and you're going to see that some require this type of squeegee, other jobs a different type of squeegee. This job needs a smaller scrubber, this one a larger scrubber. Having all those tools available gives you flexibility. It makes things a lot more efficient because you're using the right tool for the right job. So if someone came up to me and said, what's your favorite brand? That's a difficult one because I've had moments where Unger is my favorite brand. I've had moments where Sorbo is my favorite brand. I've had moments where Moerman is my favorite, but only in certain situations. So it's really up to you to decide which way are you going to go. And that's why it will take a good year or two of experimenting with different tools. And I guess that's why so many of my guests here on the podcast have said, go and work for somebody, go and learn the trade from someone before you start your own business. And that gives you the advantage of being able to try different tools to see which one works for you. Well, some tools are just very uncomfortable in your hand when you're trying to do fanning, pull downs, whatever it might be. Others don't fit very well on your pole tip. So you need to find something that fits and works with the jobs that you've got at hand, the jobs that you have on your books, the ones you're doing regularly. So there really isn't a right answer, which is the best brand. Now I know some of you might scream at this and say, Duncan, you haven't got a clue. This is the best brand. Well, that's good. That's best for you, but doesn't mean it's best for me with the jobs that I do in the environment that I'm at. So a number of years ago, I did a test, which you can still find on my YouTube channel, Duncan the Window Pro. I did a comparison with a variety of different squeegee rubbers and that are available in Australia. I looked at the Unger Green, I looked at the Facelift Razor Red, I looked at the Ettore Master Rubber, the Wagtail Blue. So 4 or 5 different squeegee rubbers, all with the same shapings. So all with that Unger style size and shape, and all tested at the same time of the year. And it turned out that the Ettore Master Rubber was my least favorite because due to the weather and due to maybe the batch I had, it was very sticky and it dragged a lot on the glass. Whereas the younger brands were a lot smoother. Is that the case today? Probably not. Currently, I'm using Ettore rubber in my Ettore stainless steel channel, and by and large, it seems to be quite suitable. So this is the thing with tools is you're always going to evolve as you get different types of jobs. You're going to realize I'm going to need a different type of tool. And it's no different to making decisions about water fed. Now, there's a feeling amongst many, maybe it's the TikTok generation, that before you even learn how to use a squeegee, you need to have your water fed system in place. I don't agree. Sorry. It's just not realistic to spend thousands on a setup that you may not even like. You may not even like window cleaning. And what are you going to do then with this two, three, $4,000 setup just because someone on social media said it's a good deal? So much better to learn how to clean glass with a squeegee and learn the different types of glass that are in your marketplace or in the area that you work. Maybe if you're working predominantly in an older area, the glass is different to the more modern buildings that have comfort plus, or they have a tint that's built into the glass. And if it's not installed properly, it can be quite difficult to clean on one side of that glass. So learning those things, you learn to see what works and what doesn't work. And so when you go into water fed, you really need to talk to people in the industry, other window cleaners, some of the suppliers, because you may decide, let's say, for example, you've seen a TikTok video, you've seen a YouTube video, and you're determined you're going to go out and buy yourself a great RO system with a 35-foot pole that's high mod carbon pole. It's going to be really good. And I'm going to spend 1,600 to 2,000 on the pole and so much more on the RO system that it's going to be useful in my car. Carry it around, away I go. But have you asked around as to whether you need an RO system? You see, where I live in Brisbane, Australia, the TDS reading of the water coming out of the mains tap across Brisbane City is between 245 and 265 parts per million. That's the TDS reading. Whereas if I just go an hour and a half north to the Sunshine Coast of Queensland, or the same distance south to the Gold Coast, out of the tap, the reading's around 99, 90 to 100, much softer. So the lower the level of TDS reading, the easier it is to produce pure water. I've never tested the water in Melbourne, but colleagues say that out of the tap there, the water is 30 parts per million. It's the purest of all cities in Australia, compared to places like Adelaide and Perth, which goes between 350 and 500. In those places, it will chew through your resin so fast you need an RO system. But in Brisbane, I use a DI tank because I'm not using it every day. And so it's right on the border of when I should switch to an RO or stay with a DI tank, depending on usage, etc. So when you're thinking I'm going to spend this cash, talk to people about what their experience is with the water. What is it like in my area? Just buy a TDS meter and measure it, and then talk to some local window cleaners and get their feedback. Because it's not just the fact you've got the tools, you've got the system. You have to determine how many times a week will I use the water fed system and what type of jobs will I be doing with that water fed system. One, two-story, three-story, large commercial buildings, all of the above. Well, that will determine the system you buy and the pole you purchase, plus the brushes that you'll need for the variety of different jobs. So there's a stack of research, but knowing how water interacts with glass, how glass is cleaned manually, it will help you to make decisions when you go down the path of water fed. But even then, just because you buy one particular pole and get started doesn't mean that's going to be your forever pole. My first pole was a Richard pole, which I hated. Within a couple of years, I had had every clamp replaced. I think I might have even then eventually had the pole replaced. And I am sure that the gentleman that bought my business 3 years later doesn't use that pole. Whereas now it's a totally different brand, and so things are changing all the time. You need to research, talk about it, make some decisions on what is the best pole, what is the best pure water system, what are the best squeegees, not the best brands, but the best for the jobs that you're going to chase, the jobs that you're going to get, the jobs that you already have that you want to become more efficient in your output. So, like, that's a bit of input on my part, and I'm going to talk to over the next few months some past guests and some new guests about product development, about product change, and why it's a challenge at times to make a decision on the tool choices that you have to make to run your business. So from my perspective, try different tools. Don't be afraid to have more squeegees than you think you need. If you watched my episode with Squeegee Chick Jessica from Michigan, she's got a massive number of squeegees and she's only been in the game a year or two because she's constantly trialing different tools to see what will work for her. Some of the tools she puts on social media, I think, why would you ever use that tool? But she loves them. It doesn't matter. It's not someone else's input. It's what you decide. That's the key thing with tools. So I hope that really, just gives you some perspective on when you're going out to start your business and buy new window cleaning tools or replacing the ones you have that may be a little bit frustrating. You're not enjoying them as much as you used to. Don't think so much of brands. Think about what is going to work for the job that you need to follow. Now, granted, there are some cheaper brands. You're not going to succeed in business if you're buying your squeegees from Lowe's in the United States or from Bunnings Hardware in Australia. They've got the cheaper, nasty ones. You won't last with those. So when we talk about brands, we're talking about reputable quality brands, things like the Ungers and the Ettores and Sorbos. You may find one of those are the best things for your work. Good on you. Well, excellent. Make the decision, stick with it, and be pleased with your decision. But do your research first, trial things, and then you're going to have less frustration in using tools in your water fed, in your traditional, in your window cleaning business, or even if you're just working for someone using your own tools in that setting. So thank you for listening. I hope that helps a bit. It's not always a popular subject because people have got some very strong opinions. But if you have an opinion, hey, feel free to put a comment. I'm thick-skinned. I don't mind if you bag me for what I say. I'm thick-skinned. I've been in the game long enough to know that everyone has a different opinion. And no one's opinion is necessarily wrong. It's just different. And if we can accept that diversity in opinion with regarding tools, it makes it so much more interesting listening to each other and getting people's viewpoints. So reach out if you want to, and if you enjoyed this podcast episode, don't forget to subscribe for the content, whether you're on Spotify, Substack, or watching this on YouTube. If you feel someone should benefit from this, maybe a newbie who's starting out, hey, send it to them, get them to subscribe also. I'd really appreciate that. And I hope that these podcasts are really helping you with your business journey, and that your business journey is fun. You know, it's tough times, but with the help that you can get from podcasts like this one, you can certainly be successful. So take care. Bye for now, and we'll see you next time around. Here's a postscript. If you haven't yet decided on a CRM to help you with your scheduling, invoicing, quoting, try Squeegee app. It's been my go-to software for 6 years, and it works really well with me in my scheduling, because after all, window cleaning, we want repeat work. So being able to set the jobs you get in on a repeat cycle is so simple in Squeegee app, which means that they're there in your schedule. You don't have to forget it. I don't think you won't worry about forgetting them. Squeegee app will keep all that sorted for you. And in addition, you can quote and invoice. You can send messages through the app to your clients, reminding them of the booking that they've made. So Squeegee app, and if you look down in the description of this podcast, you'll see a discount code that gives you a discount for the first 12 months of your membership on Squeegee app. Why don't you try it? It's built by window cleaners for window cleaners and for everyone else in the service industry business. See you soon.